Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So if you're into AI agents and Databricks, then this video, you'll love it. Today we have with us Aarni, with whom we are going to deep dive into kind of a multi-genie agent architecture. We're going to discuss how he built the solution he built, the use case specifically, and also we're going to show a demo. So let's start with intros. Can you introduce a little bit yourself, Aarni?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me here. My name is Aarni and originally I come a cold place called Finland, and I've been working with Databricks quite a long time, practically done all kind of things in the platform. And actually, I remember when I started my data journey back in the days, I was wondering why there were
Back in the
so
days.
much manual work. It was quite interesting actually, and it was also my spark towards agentic automation, because Databricks has been standardizing amazingly, and if you can standardize, you can automate. So
Cool. So should we discuss a little bit the use case we're going to talk about today? Like, why did you build what you built?
yeah, absolutely. So I think the root cause here is to be able to talk with your data, and that has been really huge problem, and especially if you cannot code on your own. And you can imagine a situation that you need to find quickly business insight from the data, and then you have to contact your data developer. In the worst case scenario, you have to even create a ticket, and then it takes forever to be assigned. And finally, the data developer creates you SQL query or a dashboard. And then if you get dashboard, you are exporting that data to Excel file. And now all of that is history thanks to Genie, that you can just talk with the data thanks to these Gen AI tools. Here, I think the use case is that even that you're able to talk with your data, how to make that user experience as great as possible. Like all Gen AI agent solutions, you have to choose your battle. Like with Genie, you have to choose specific domain and then optimize your Genie space on that domain. You cannot include all the data in the word there, because then quality suffers, of course. But then user experience suffers, because then you have to create multiple Genie spaces on specific domains. So then the user have to hop from one Genie space to another Genie space. So it's not so convenient anymore. So the whole idea of this solution is to have one simple agentic solution that you can access all those Genie spaces from one interface.
Amazing. So just for background, so when you build a Genie space, what you're talking about is that you need to tune and optimize a Genie space based on specific data sets that you have attached to the Genie space. Now, from the moment that you add a lot of data sets, the Genie space loses its accuracy, so it doesn't perform as well. So you end up splitting it into many Genie spaces, each one tuned to a specific kind of data set. And now the user needs to know which Genie space they need to go to in order to get the answers they want from the data. And what you propose here is the Genie of Genies, right? So you have a common entry point and then propagate the request to the relevant Genie given the user question. Amazing. So can you show us the architecture and we can discuss it?
But if you go through that architecture, you can see that in the bottom we can see Databricks apps. So it is like user interface, but it is really easy to create those Databricks app solutions. Databricks even provide pre-built templates, and the governance is really great. So the user comes to the apps, and then from apps it can chat with that agent. And then the agent is actually triggering those Genie spaces. So basically taking that user's request, passing it to the correct Genie space, then Genie base does its own magic, returns that value, and then agent is cleaning that result and returning that value to the end user. So here it is really easy that the user might ask something about, for example, sales data, and then sales data domain Genie is being triggered, returning that sales answer. And if the end user want to know something about, for example, logistics data, so then logistic domain Genie is being triggered. So it is really easy to use. And also you can see that authentication logic has been updated. So now it is using dedicated service principles, that it is easy to understand what the agent is doing, and also making sure that agent is not having too much access. So you can grant permissions that service principal, but also take it away really easily. And whenever you create new Databricks apps, it is also running under dedicated service principal. So it is really easy actually to set up. And then that app service principal is like agent service principal here. And you can even add row and column level security to that service principal, and then Genie can use that Roman corollary security automatically for you.
Excellent. So then this agent executor, really what it does, it's understanding the request and propagates it, send it to the relevant Genie space.
Exactly.
I'll ask you a couple of things later on the security side of things, but should we show the demo and go step by step on its component?
But it is really easy to do, and we can really quickly check that deployment notebook. So it has been cloned from the public GitHub repo. And here I have added some helper functions, because the whole idea of this solution that it will be really easy to deploy and use. To get your agentic development on Databricks started, because it is so much fun to build agents on Databricks. But yeah, here you can see that Genie space ID list is required, and you can see what I have added on this case. So you need to have like Genie space ID and also description. And based on this information, then the agent knows what Genie space needs to be triggered.
So sorry for interrupting. So this is exactly here that the orchestrator will get the relevant context to know where to hand that off and which Genie got it. Sounds
Exactly.
good.
So here I have already created like helper function that it will automatically convert this information a tool, and then that agent is using this information as a tool, and then to know what tool to trigger. So basically Genie agent is as a sub-agent tool. This description needs to be really good. So if there is like only Genie space 1, it is quite difficult to understand what this Genie space is doing. So it is like Genie space description for the agent. And then we have, this is optional, I added like just for demonstration purpose, this DevOps ticket creation. Tickets are being created so much, and that is something that I would like to automate in every places. So it was on purpose, simple demonstration, and it
This
can
is
be
just
added
to show
here.
that you can hit other APIs as well and execute
Exactly.
other actions apart from just calling Genie spaces.
Exactly. So here I created also this connection creation, because now you can use these Unity catalog connections that your agent can use those connections to create REST API calls securely. So that's why I wanted to keep this here. So it can be seen from the code, and you can create your own solutions using the same approach and logic. And then we are creating that config file and then deploying this Databricks apps. And I have done this already now. Usually it takes like 5 minutes. As you can see, the whole deployment process is really easy. And now we are saving a bit time here. I mean, I could tell jokes 5 minutes here, but
So have you deployed it through stacks? Have you deployed it through ML stacks?
Yes, so here I have deployed, we can talk about this ML flow approach a bit more later, but here the solution is quite straightforward actually, that it is using Databricks REST APIs and SDKs to deploy these apps based on that configuration information. And here, because it is quite straightforward function tool agent, I'm not doing any agent deployment actually, because when I create Databricks apps, it creates its own service principal. So then I can see everything what is going on with that agent using that service principal ID, and also all like Python libraries, all that of necessary metadata information is also stored in the Databricks apps. So practically, I'm also using that apps deployment as a version control deployment here.
So can we discuss a little bit the service principal and what permissions it has? So this service principal, I guess it needs to have all the permissions that this app needs to have to execute, like access to all the Genie spaces and the subsequent data sets.
So here you can see as a final step this service principal ID, and exactly you have to start granting permissions. So you need to grant permissions to those Genie spaces, that the service principal can access Genie spaces, but also those tables, that Genie can access those tables using that service principal authentication. And also LLM model. So if you are not using those out-of-the-box service endpoints what Databricks is offering, but your own, then you have to make sure that this service principal is having access there as well. And why I like this a lot, because this is really secure, that I always can check the logs, what data has been written, when it has been done, and I know exactly that it is this agent.
But so whoever accesses the app has exactly the same permissions. So whoever has access to the app sees the data set that this service principal accesses behind the scenes.
Yes, so it is like agent service principle
Yes,
logic here.
exactly.
So it is always having same access everywhere where the service principle is having. And then users are having access to that service agent. So basically they have access to that service principle. And here actually, once it has been deployed, it can be found under compute. And here we can see apps and you can see Multi-Genie agent. It is up and running. And then we can open it. Hey, Aarni is using this app. So it is working on a user level, and also all logs are working on a user level, so I can see exactly who has asked and what has been asked. And here I could start with something really simple like what tools you have. And then our agent can tell me that I have multiple tools. Here, because this is demo solution, I haven't optimized that formatting yet. But it tells us that it has DevOps ticket creation tool, and then it has multiple Genie spaces. So it has 4 different Genie spaces. And then we could start with a simple one like, who is the least profitable customer? We want to know full name. What's the latest feedback? So I have created earlier 4 different Genie spaces here, what the agent can be using. And I haven't done any proper optimization of those Genie spaces. Basically just out of the box, and it is already working quite well actually. And we can later check how it looks in logs. So now it is taking a bit time because it is activating that serverless SQL warehouse which is currently inactive. So that's why it takes a few seconds later than usually. But here you can see,
Did you run into any issues with state management or long-running tasks?
yes. So the logic how this has been built, I'm keeping like session memory. So all these questions I'm asking, it keeps the states there. So it's not deleting anything. So the more I keep asking, the longer that message history gets. And then, because this is the demo solutions, I haven't any like advanced logic that after, for example, 10 messages, it will automatically start deleting those or then combining those to smaller messages. So currently, this is just session history. And yeah, of course, the bigger the message history gets, then the bigger challenge there might be that it starts hallucinating. But so far, I haven't faced any significant issues actually. Perhaps I should have keeping chatting longer with this. So 5:30 minutes are.
And so as a memory then, where are you storing this? Is it just on the endpoint where the app is being served?
So in this case, it is, if I now click clear, it will automatically delete that message history, but I have activated inference tables. So inference tables are working amazing because it means that all those requests I'm asking here are automatically logged in inference tables in Databricks. And because I'm using dedicated service principle, I can use even common model endpoint here, and based on that service principle ID, I can exactly see that, hey, these requests have been asked, and these are related to this particular agent solution, and then I can build AIB dashboard and start monitoring the performance and evaluation as well. And here, if you can see that we are asking something customer related. If we want to know something else, for example, how many items are delayed, this is having nothing to do with customers, totally unrelated question. And now it is triggering another Genie space. Here you can see that integrated logistics data. And this was a lot faster, as you can see, because now that server SQL warehouse was already active. And now I could ask, for example, how much it has costed. So here you can see that this is like really easy to use tool for you. It's not just simple tool, but it is like your AI colleague. And now we can see that it has cost quite a lot already. And of course you want to see how it is looking in Databricks app side, that how it is logging everything. So let me show you that one as well. So if we come back to this Databricks apps, so under logs, we can see what is happening. So here we could see that, okay, everything is logged on user level because I'm using here, you can see my email here, but if somebody else would be using at the same time, I could see the other user's email. So I can see on user level what is happening, those logs. And then here you can see that Genie space has been triggered, and I can see exactly what Genie space has been triggered. And then I also added like visible polling here, that you can see how long it takes to process those requests, and everything here is logged. So basically I could have like logging system saving as a file this information. But because I'm using Inference table, I can find this message history from Inference table. So I try to avoid like data duplication here as well.
Awesome. And what were your biggest technical challenges in building this?
Yeah, that's a great question actually. And I would say security at first. Because when I created the first iteration, this was quite new actually. And when you work with new features, there are always some limitations. And I was trying to find a way how to make it as robust as possible. Because when you work with Gen AI agents, you don't want to have like one rogue employee working there doing whatever it is doing without any visibility. And when I've used those external connections, I noticed that it is using that connection owner credentials. So I wasn't able to log everything what is happening. So now that that service principal support is there, it is working really smoothly. That I have dedicated service principal. I know that this service principal is only linked to this agentic solution. So if it's doing something that I don't want, I can always just remove those permissions from service principal or even add more permissions if it's performing well. And perhaps that another, I would also say, monitoring performance or optimizing performance. Because you know that you would like to have really sophisticated agentic solution here, but you have to like balance how many features you add there and how quickly you can get that response. At first, I was thinking to add like React or chain of thought process that whenever that agent gets that request, it would analyze that request and then creating amazing plan and then triggering Genie spaces, processing that reply and then using LLM solution there to validate if the Genie response was great and then perhaps re-triggering the Genie space and getting that result back. But then I realized that it would increase latency quite a lot here, and it is quite straightforward use case here. So I decided to keep it as simple function call agent as possible, because this is also like the whole idea of this solution is inspire others that, hey, this is quite easy to do. You can do it on your own on top of Databricks and just start building your agents because it is really fun.
And so, like a follow-up question on this, on the keep it simple. So then the solution behind the scenes is just LLM with function calling. So all the Genie spaces are logged as tools.
Yes.
And then the LLM, the only thing it has to do is choose the right tool. So there's no multi-agentic kind of implementation behind the scenes.
Yeah. So basically, it is really easy to add that another layer. Currently, yes, Genies are as own tools, and then it can choose the correct tool and then trigger, and then it just returns that value. But basically, you could have your own feedback loop there or own autonomous configurations that agent could trigger those Genies and then analyze that Genie, and then based on that result could even improve that prompt, trigger it again. So if you check the code, you can see that it is quite easy to add that another extra layer there. But once again, the whole point was to keep it as easy to deploy and also understand how it's working. So that's why it was kept as light as possible on purpose. And here actually, why I think this approach is really great, because I could demonstrate that now I'm getting a bit hungry. It has been quite a long day already. So, I'd like to have pizza for lunch in Helsinki. And now I have added like lunch data Genie, and it is able to find me soon some kind of pizzeria here in Helsinki. Because we were earlier talking about optimizing Genie spaces. So now if I ask, okay, great, how about in Oslo? And I have only added lunch data information in Helsinki to that lunch Genie space. And soon, let's see what we get. Actually, we got demo effect. I already added here.
Were you hoping to say we don't have Oslo data?
Yes, I was too too quickly to adding that dataset there. But now you can see I removed that dataset. Yeah, so you can see that it cannot show me anything here at all. But now I can share actually another screen here. So here you can see what is happening actually. So here you can see that data, and when I add new Oslo launch places, come back. So as you can see, we are having exactly same session here going on, and I already demonstrated, but I will demonstrate it again. So last question I asked, it wasn't able to give that response, and now that I removed and I now added back this data set, try again, and now it is again able to give me that response without any problems.
Wait for it.
Yay!
And I was like, come on, not like another demo effect here.
Wow, this is beautiful though. Like you don't even need to refresh the session. You don't need to, I don't know, reserve the app or whatever. It just pops up refresh the Genie space.
Exactly, and that's why I think it's really amazing, because then you can have like a domain-specific Genie teams working on that Genie space, optimizing it, having the best knowledge, and then you can have like this multi-agent solution that you just compile all those Genie spaces together. So this is working amazingly.
Nice. Cool. How long did it take you to build that?
The first iteration, actually, I built it in a couple of days. I remember I came back from holiday, and then I was so eager that this conversation API was published. I was waiting for a long time for it. And then I noticed that it came out while I was on holiday, and I wanted to get this information really quickly out, inspire others that you can really easily start building solutions like this. And then I created this iteration 2 to have more robust just authentication logic, and that it will work even better, having user level monitoring on apps level. So it also took like 1 day. But yeah, because it is so much fun to build these agentic solutions on Databricks. So I strongly recommend that if you're not doing it, start doing it.
Amazing. So the repo is public for whoever wants to try. We will link it in the video. And thank you, Aarni.
Thank you.
Thank you. It has been such a blast to be here.